Good evening, everybody. How you doing? Hi. I'm here to argue the workability and the disadvantages of changing to a semester system. First things first, one thing mentioned earlier is the chancellor going to pay. One of the things mentioned earlier is that the chancellor will be paying for these conversion funds, but first off, the chancellor hasn't clearly promised these funds. These funds might not actually come through, and even if they do come through, they will not be able to cover all of these conversion costs. Another thing that would make it a little hard to change would be our curriculum. We have a set curriculum that we are now using and is transferable from year to year. If we change to a semester system, there'll have to be a complete overhaul of the curriculum. I mean, the classes that we do keep will have to be lengthened. We'll have to get rid of classes, combine classes. I mean, there's too much. All the overhauling will undoubtedly lead to a loss of certain electives or even general ed classes general ed options that might be available now will be taken away from the students later on. So, to display some of the disadvantages, I took researched two schools in our CSU system that should be somewhat comparable to ours. I took CSU San Bernardino and CSU Fullerton. San Bernardino is, as was mentioned earlier, a quarter system school, and Fullerton is a semester school. One thing that I'd like to start off with is that the Cal State Fullerton budget for the fiscal year of 2009-2010, according to their budget report, is $363 million. This is compared to the San Bernardino budget from their budget report, which is only $163 million, about $200 million shorter when you use a quarter system. And not only has this quarter system shown to be cheaper, but it also cheaper for the school, but it also is cheaper for the students. When comparing their out-of-state tuition prices for San Bernardino and Fullerton, Fullerton costs $1,600 for an out-of-state student, while San Bernardino costs just $1,100. Still a substantial amount of money, of course, but $5,000 cheaper is a lot cheaper. Also, the success of students isn't always better in a semester system. In fact, the graduation rates of the two schools are, at San Bernardino, the graduation rate is 77% within 4 years. Fullerton's graduation rate is only 16% within 4 years. If we go further on, we'll see that 87% of CSU San Bernardino students graduate within 6 years, while the Fullerton students raise up to 52% in 6 years. Not as much of a difference, but also a difference is the amount of students that actually choose to return. The percentage of freshmen who return to CSU San Bernardino for their sophomore year is 84%. Just a smaller drop is the Fullerton freshmen, who 80% usually return. Not a large difference, but a difference nonetheless. Lastly, I'd like to bring up some the recent polls that were taken on our campus of who actually wanted the change. Now, as was seen in all the emails that people received, 91% of the students preferred to keep it as quarters, and 54% of the faculty preferred to keep it as quarters. What you don't see in the email that is actually further shown in the full report is that 45% of the students actually chose Cal Poly Pomona because of the quarters. And an extra 22% said it was at least some part of their, if not the whole reason, at least some part of the reason they chose to come here. These factors are both, those 2 points can both be worked back into the workability, which would show how we might, not only would we lose curriculum, but we would also lose students to take those curriculum. That is